There seems to be a slowly growing trend of companies releasing higher-end versions of their flagship devices, like Sony did when releasing the Xperia Z Premium, and like what Motorola has done with the release of both the Droid Max 2 and Turbo 2. LG seemed to want in on this new super premium tier of devices, and has done so in a fairly stylish way. The V10 is the company's highest spec smartphone to date, and even though it's not too far ahead of the G4, it's still enough to give fans of the G4 something to drool over. My name is Derek Lee with One Tech Stop, and this is my review of the LG V10 with AT&T. When I first played around with the LG G4, the first thing I noticed was how big it was. The 5.5-inch screen was bigger than any other phone I had ever used at the time. Well, the V10 changed all that, boasting a massive 5.7-inch Quad HD Quantum IPS LCD display, a mouthful I know, practically marking it as a phablet. Many people have commented on the device, gawking at its size, and quite frankly, I'm among them. The screen size makes it very hard to use the device one-handed, and the weight doesn't help either. The V10 weighs a hefty 192 grams. That weight does come with the added bonus of a sturdy and stylish design. The device is wrapped in a Duraskin silicone body, with stainless steel hugging at the sides. This combination gives what some may consider the perfect balance between heft and style, and the studded back allows for more grip without compromising on looks. As with its many predecessors, the V10 keeps the same design language with its rear-mounted power and volume buttons, adding to the clean look of the phone. On the back, you'll also find the 16-megapixel camera, more on this later, and the LED flash and laser focus unit on both sides. The V10 is powered by the same 1.8 GHz 64-bit hexa-core Snapdragon 808 processor found on the G4. As a super premium phone, you would expect LG to splurge for something a little higher, but alas, the phone chugged away without fault, thanks in part to the bump in RAM to 4GB. Beyond this, we have 64GB of onboard storage, with the 32GB model also available, which is expandable up to 2 theoretical terabytes, thanks to the removable back cover that also exposes the removable 3000 mAh battery. Fast Charge 2.0 is included, and fortunately LG decided to bundle a fast charger with the device, something that was omitted with the G4. Battery life is pretty good, and I get a full day of usage out of it. The speaker has been moved to the lower bottom of the device, so sound quality was fairly loud and clear, though not as good as it would have been had LG opted for front-facing speakers. A boy can dream. The LG V10 runs Android 5.1.1 Lollipop out of the box, with the company's own UX 4.0. As noted with the G4, it runs super smoothly thanks to the push for more RAM. Of course, in addition to the multiple home screens, LG's own Smart Bulletin is present, adding some extra smarts into an already smart phone, like automatically turning Wi-Fi off and on when I left or arrived home respectively. Double tap to wake is also present, but seems almost secondary to the new fingerprint scanner found on the home button. After using the one on the iPhone, it's definitely something I've gotten more and more accustomed to. Unfortunately, after using the iPhone, I realized how cumbersome the V10's fingerprint scanner was. Pressing the home button once was only enough to wake the device, requiring a second tap to get it unlocked. On the iPhone, one press on the home button was all I needed to both wake and unlock the device. It's because of this that I stuck with using the on-screen unlock pattern half the time. One standout feature for the V10 was the inclusion of a second screen, the first of its kind seen on a phone of this kind. Few phones have dabbled in this territory, but LG chose to go about it another way. Though, it's just as cumbersome a feature as the fingerprint scanner. Sitting at the very top of the device, users are able to access a customizable set of applications, switch between open apps, and control music. It even lets users accept and decline calls, nicely keeping many of the notifications away from the main screen. It's also always on, even when the phone is on standby. Unfortunately, its placement on such a large phone makes it pretty much impossible to use one-handed, and I hardly ever wanted to use it. Frankly, the second screen is as useful to the phone as it is noteworthy to this review, which isn't very much. My name at the top is a nice touch though. After this superb performance from the G4's camera, I was surprisingly quite disappointed with the V10. It has the same 16 megapixel rear shooter with an f1.8 aperture, optical image stabilization, and laser focus. But really, the photos didn't seem to compare, as they seemed either too noisy or too washed out, and the V10 seemed to have more trouble than its predecessor when it came to focusing, surprising with that laser focus unit. Largely, the photos were pretty bland, and I didn't find myself wanting to use the camera as often as on the G4, as it seemed to take more effort to capture a decent photo. In good lighting conditions, the camera performed nicely, but that's it. In low light, it was pretty hit or miss. Video was good, and the device was capable of shooting in 4K, though I largely stuck to 1080p. The optical image stabilization kept movements fairly smooth, and it didn't seem to have much trouble focusing for the most part. The front-facing camera was another standout feature, as LG opted for a dual camera mode. This was in order to capture super wide group selfies at 120 degrees as opposed to the V10 standard 80 degrees. The trade-off of this was a lower 5 megapixel resolution, down from an 8 megapixel on the G4, and it definitely showed. Selfies suffer from a lot of noise, unless captured in the absolute most perfect lighting conditions. As an avid selfie taker, this made me miss the quality and detail from the G4's camera. And while a group selfie feature is cool, I would have preferred if LG kept the same camera module, as I found myself wanting to use the selfie camera even less than I wanted to use the rear camera, and that's saying something. All in all, the V10 is a great first attempt at a super premium device, and LG pretty much nailed it in the style department. The device is fast and responsive and will definitely stand out in a crowd. Unfortunately, as such a large and heavy phone, the V10 just felt like a burden to use, and the extra features did very little to help its case as a phone G4 users should look forward to. My overall experience with the device was mixed at best, with its fair share of pros and cons. The question now is whether or not the V10 is a phone for you. That's it for my review of the V10. I hope you enjoyed it. You can look forward to my upcoming camera shootout between this and the Microsoft Lumia 950 coming soon. My name is Derek Lee, this is One Tech Stop, and thank you for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.